Hey, good morning. Thank you so much for being here. I'm Jessie Burgart, and I'm reading The Art of Focus by Dan Koe, 3 pages a day. And it is day 23, and I'm on page 93. So let's go. This concept is best understood through practice. Take a moment and think about the game like structure of cultural society, corporate jobs, and other aspects of reality that were conditioned into your mind as a child. In future chapters, I'll walk you through the process of creating your own games, like building a creative income source, actualizing your ideal future, and handling negative or mundane situations through the art of focus. Note that I may not explicitly label these as games. I would encourage you to make that connection for yourself. If you remember anything, remember this. You need a challenging end goal that you want to achieve, clarity on how to get there, and a simplified first step to reduce the friction of getting started. The push pull nature of increasing your skill to match the challenge of a situation makes sense, but there are developmental stages in any game you choose to play: beginner, intermediate, advanced, and more, depending on the game. This is the path of mastery. As you push toward your ideal future, you'll be forced to upskill to match the challenge that any hierarchy of goals presents. Be wary of those that put a clear path in front of you. In a world where the masses flock toward the promise of a certain future, a wise decision is to embrace the uncertain nature of life itself and create your own certainty through focus. The lenses, all right? Here we go. Everyone is playing their own game, both macro and micro. Everyone is at different levels of the game. Everyone has their own unique skills, traits, and specialties. Everyone is part of their own faction, guild, and group of confidants. Everyone has taken a unique path to where they are now and will have a unique path to where they are going. Your ability to mold your mind to understand the goals that others are pursuing from their individual skill level will make you less reactionary. It will also make you more money. This practice alone is responsible for much of the peace in my life. Everyone may seem wrong, but when you take their conscious or unconscious goals into account, they are right. You can't control the details of every situation, but you can control the vantage point from where you interpret those details. Then you can filter the insignificant noise that does not serve you. All that is left is a signal of importance that pushes you toward action. Like a film set, a scene is composed of the camera angle, focal length, lighting, props, quality of equipment, actors, and script that determines how the scene manifests. If you are an actor, it is easy to get absorbed in the details of the scene. You may forget that you were even filming a movie. If you are the director, you understand that everything that goes into the scene serves a purpose for creating that reality. Every aspect of that situation is crafted in a way that makes the scene interesting to the person watching the film, one that both the director and viewer can get immersed in, so much so that they forget about their worries. In the real world, we do not see ourselves as the director of our own film, and we especially don't see others as the director of their own. So we compartmentalize reality and see what we want to see. We love what serves our fabricated identity and hate what we don't understand. When someone makes an upsetting remark, you snapshot that individual thought or emotion as bad in your mind based on your conditioned and relative perception of what bad is. In fact, that upsetting remark could have been the catalyst to you taking control of your life. It may have held truth that you didn't want to face. You must realize that your inability to see this never-ending movie for what it is makes you reactionary, and that is usually not in your best interest. The tragedy of human nature is that we consider a situational snapshot as an explanation for the entirety of a person's being, ourselves included. In reality, one situation that you perceived as negative, meaning it is only negative to you, comprises such a small percentage of someone's life that it wouldn't be worth writing about here, because the moment has passed. We see less than a 0.001% of someone's life, and yet we think we understand the complexity of their mind, being, and self. Humans make sense of the world by telling themselves a story. Even if we see it as someone else's story, we interpret it as part of our own, as that is the only way we can make sense of it. Since we will never have access to another person's state of mind, we take what we see and make sense of it based on our past experiences, future goals of varying consciousness, and our interpretation of the situational game we're playing. This is a recipe for suffering. Arsenal of lenses. You are a perspective vessel in a subjective reality. You have the ability to shift that perspective beyond a narrow identity to view situations from a higher, more holistic perspective that encapsulates the background, foreground, and detail of the situation. Your concept of self at this moment in time is forged by the ideologies, dogma, and forms of our outer world that you identify with as static. This limits the potential experience available to you. Nobody can escape this, and the moment you think you can is the moment you become trapped in the pursuit of spiritual materialism. Thinking of yourself as higher, more noble, or less egoic is still a status game that the ego loves to play. For understanding, let's think of the perspective as a DSLR camera, one of those big fancy ones that photographers use. The body of the camera has its limits due to how it's programmed. You can attach different lenses to the camera to capture a situation in a way that influences how the image is perceived based on your intention with the shot. As you trek through life, you capture photographs and develop them through your level of mind, accompanying emotional state and degree of focus. This is how you interpret any situation you're in, and that interpretation is confined by the structure you operate within. Let's think of the field of view, frame, or perspective of lens as your field of awareness. When you hone in and fixate your focus on one thing, the background blurs. This also impacts how you interpret a situation. So if your camera is positioned on top of the world, but your lens allows you to focus on a skyscraper, the entirety of the world will look like a big blob of blues and greens, while the skyscraper is crisp and clear. This is an illustrative description of how you zoom out to gather truths, patterns, and creative resources, and zoom in to apply them in your practical life. We can consider what is clear to be conscious and what is blurred to be subconscious or unconscious. This can work for or against you. If you hold the perspective of your future self in your mind and focus tightly on a task that will create your vision, distractions won't register in your field of awareness. This is what we want: clear and unbroken focus on what is important to us, at least until a new importance is discovered as the last one inevitably fades. All right. Thank you so much for joining me, and I hope you have a wonderful day, and maybe we'll get to see you tomorrow morning too. Ciao.